Hello and welcome to this next tutorial on GUI development. Now if you've been following the series so far, you will be familiar with most of this code. There's just a couple of new bits here to help with some problems a few users wanted to have fixed. So this is particularly for those YouTubers that have asked me to show them how to make a label and then overwrite it so that the new labels don't keep appearing whenever you click on submit. So this is for you guys. Okay, so I'll give you a quick rundown first of the code, just in case this is the first video you're watching. I'm going to go quite quickly, so if you want a more in-depth explanation of all of this code, I suggest you go back and watch the first couple of tutorials. Okay, so we get started by importing the Tkinter library. This will allow us to make our GUI. The next thing we're doing is making a function. Now, if you haven't made functions before, you may want to watch one of my tutorials or somebody else's on how to make functions, as that will give you more of an insight into how to do this. But a quick rundown is, we use the keyword define, we name the function. I've called it getUsername because that's what we're doing, so it kind of makes sense. We must have an open close bracket, and we must have a colon here. Now notice the commands are indented. This should be the case. Now if you're not sure about your indentation, you can click behind your first line of code, back it up until the colon and hit enter, and that will automatically give you the correct level of indentation. Now to kick things off, we're making a variable. I've called it text because we're getting text from the username box. You could call it username, that would also work well. It's your choice, but it's always good to make it something applicable to what you're doing. The next thing is we're using the text entry name here. Text entry refers to the text entry field that I've made down here, and we're using the .get command with open and close brackets. That's a function, so we're going to use that to get whatever text is entered in by the user when they're trying to log into our little demo system here. Now whatever they type in, by doing this, gets stored in our variable called text. Next line of code, this will take whatever they've entered in, and using the .upper function, it will convert it all to uppercase. Now this is really useful because if they put in lowercase Bob, in this case, it will convert it all to uppercase, then check against the uppercase and allow them to access our system. If they put uppercase B, lowercase o, lowercase b and hit enter, again this would still work. So using this little line of code here, it makes your code more robust because it will allow them to enter any variation on the word Bob with capitalization or lowercase or uppercase, and still this will work and will allow them access to our system, which is good. Okay, now this is the new line of code you haven't seen before. We're using the .config command. Now what this does, it configures an existing label and changes the text to whatever we want, in this case access granted. Now this will stop the labels appearing going on down the screen whenever you try and reuse your login system, which is obviously what you want to do. So this in this case will write access granted, else if it's not equal to Bob, the label will be configured to say access denied. Now I've covered this in previous tutorials, so I'm not going to go over this again now. If you want to know what all this code does, I suggest you go back and watch the first couple of tutorials, as they are explained fully there. Now the last two lines of code I'm going to go over today for you. This one here, it is really important. This is our button to submit the text, and command equals get username. This is referring to the function we've made up here. So when you write this code, just make sure if you've chosen a different name for your function, the same name goes down there. Okay, so if you've called this check user, for example, check user should be the name of your function here, and the command should be check user here as well. So as long as the command sits the same here and here, you'll be fine. Now finally, this is the clever bit, we're just making our label 2 here, and we're setting it equal to nothing. So what we're doing is we're making an empty label, and because it's empty you won't see anything when the code first runs, but it is there, a space is reserved for it, there's just nothing printed, which is actually what you want, because until the users try to log on, you don't want any text to appear. Finally, we pack the label onto our GUI. So I'll give this a run and show you how this works. So here you see the GUI, and as you can see there's a space set aside for our label, but nothing appears yet. So if we type in, I don't know, something like Fred, he's not in our system, you can see access is denied. Now if we type in Bob, all lowercase, submit, access is granted. So this is doing exactly what a couple of users asked for. This will allow you to change your label, just show you BOB, yeah, access granted. Code works nicely. This will allow you to overwrite a label without them appearing down the GUI the more times you click. So it's a nice, neat, quick and simple solution. Well, I hope that was useful, and I'll see you next time for another tutorial, and I'll try not to leave it so long this time before putting some new ones up on YouTube. Take care, bye for now.